Howdy y'all, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, Koki Creative. My name is Elena and today we are doing a speed build. This is the first house I made using the new Horse Ranch pack and I started it the night before, only using base game. And then I downloaded the pack the next day and then filled in everything with the new items. Whenever I get a new pack, the first thing I want to do is check out all of the new features, the new content, build by Cass, gameplay. So I use this house to check out all the new build by and debug items, and then I got also a little bit of gameplay in while I was playtesting as well. Before I get any further, let me tell you a little bit about this build. It's called Nectar Ranch in the Gallery. I'm only using the new Horse Ranch pack and base game. It's on a 50 by 50 lot. There are 5 beds, 6 bathrooms, and it costs 310,000 simoleons. This is also the longest speed build I've ever done, so get cozy because we're gonna be here for a while. Over an hour. It's pretty exciting. This is definitely the longest one I've ever made, but I got good reactions with the last long speed build that I've done, so I'm definitely gonna be doing more of them. Before I was trying to make them as short as I possibly could because I thought the shorter it was, the easier it will be for people to watch. Anyway, so for the roof, I wanted to do something that fit with a ranch style, so I was looking at a lot of Pinterest photos. I actually had to clip a lot of that out because I kept pulling up Pinterest on my computer while I was building this. I really wish I had a second monitor because that would make looking up things a lot easier. I used to have a second monitor back at my old place, but I ended up getting rid of that monitor, so maybe one day I will get a second monitor. I love my new laptop. So I had a desktop before and switched to a laptop, and oh my gosh, the freedom, the mobility, I absolutely love it. Having this mobile laptop, I can go sit at my desk, I can sit at the TV, I can go sit on my bed, I can even take it traveling. It's really great. But let me get back to my actual point and back to the video. I was talking about the roof. So I was looking up a lot of pictures of ranches on Pinterest because why not? And I've never built a ranch before. I mean, I've seen them, I can picture them in my head, but when it comes down to actually building one and putting one together from scratch, I really had to get a little bit of extra help. So I was looking at pictures on Pinterest and tried to get the roof as best I could. It does look a little suburban-y because I was going through a suburban phase after Growing Together came out, and I'm still apparently not out of that phase, but I do love building a lot of little cottages and stuff like that. But another thing I wanted to get right were the barns, and these kind of barns, because there are those red classic barns that you see in more like the style of cats and dogs, those kind of barns, and so I wanted to have the more ranch style barns. Also, I came across this picture when I was looking up inspiration and I really liked it, and I think that's the vision I had when creating this. So it was someone on the back of their horse and they were right at the front of the property looking toward the house, and there was this long stretch of land and barns on either side, a little bit of gardening, and it was just really pretty. So I think that's where I took my inspiration from when creating this. And here we're doing the floor plan, and I created this little room for the stairs for the basement and to go upstairs, which I really like. I don't like them to be open because you don't see that often. I mean, unless if it's a staircase that's open, but down to the basement you don't just see big holes in the ground. Maybe you do. Anyway, I'm gonna take this time right now to talk about the new pack, and I'm gonna break it into 3 different sections: gameplay, cast, and build by. So first, since we're building something right now, I'm going to talk about build by. I really like it. It might not be 10 out of 10, but it's getting there. It's very close, and I love the style. I think that you can mix and match it pretty easily. It just goes really well with not just ranch style, but cottages, family homes even. Before I continue on talking about cast and gameplay, I'm going to just put a little pin in that because I'm going to be doing something here in a few moments that I kind of want to explain, but for now I'll just say that I made a little stream, and by making that you just use the terrain tool, lower the ground in a little bit, and then use the water tool to fill it in. So here I'm making a design on the roof, and these are really popular. I was seeing them on all the ranches and I wanted to make one of my own. I'm still just using base game at this point because I haven't gotten the new pack yet. I use the tool mod a lot, and because we just got an update, my better build by wasn't working, so I had to go into live mode to do all of this, which was kind of annoying. I almost said live mode there for a second. It still sounds so weird to me. Easily one of the most handy features of Toolmod is the duplication feature. So what you want to do is toggle active object and you'll see it glow green, and then it's Shift Alt click, and then it'll duplicate the item, and you can move it around. It's going to be in the same exact spot that you duplicated in, which is super handy, especially when you've already used the tool mod on it and you want to keep it at that angle. You don't have to think about what degrees that you put in before, all this stuff. And if you don't use tool mod and you're like, what the heck are you talking about? It's pretty complicated at first, but after some practice, it gets really, it gets a lot easier. And then things like this happen. So what I wanted to do was duplicate all of the things and then transfer it over to another roof. But the problem is some items, when you move them all over at once, they kind of shift around. So you're going to have to play around, move it a little bit. But as you can see, it all works out. It's better than having to do all of that over again. You can just do some minor adjustments. Here I'm adding a chimney because I always like the way that looks. It just is a little extra nice spot. And one reason why I like to add chimneys to my builds is because you don't have to put windows in the spot that you put a chimney. It looks fine without it, and it's much easier to furnish a house that is not completely lined with windows. Sometimes I have a hard time to figure out where to put a TV because it's all windows. I love natural light. I think it looks really nice, except for when I'm trying to make a kitchen and put counters against the wall. But there's these huge, beautiful windows all against the wall, so you have to make extra walls to put the cabinets on. It's a whole thing. So that's one reason why I like to add chimneys, because then you have all that extra wall space if you need it. So I'm doing the exterior now, coloring it, but the thing is, I knew I was going to change it later. I just wanted to put a placeholder. I knew I wanted to go with something like browns, something like that. And then I put all these base game windows down, and I knew I was going to replace a lot of those with the new windows. I even was looking at pictures online to see what the build by looked like, so I can get an idea of what would look good, what wouldn't look good. But I also didn't want, like, spoilers. Let's go back to talking about the pack. Okay, let's talk about Cass now. And Cass, oh, so exciting because we got horses, but let me first talk about human outfits. It really fits with the theme of the pack. The whole cast does. It's a lot of ranch looking clothes. I do like that they have a couple of muddy options. That's something that I have downloaded CC for. I was playing like Rags to Riches one time and I wanted my sim to look muddy. So this comes with some dirty clothes, also with a clean version as well. If you're not into kind of ranch hand clothes, something like that, and you only play The Sims for Cass, then maybe this wouldn't be worth it, but I like having all the options. I like having a diverse catalog to choose from when creating Sims because each of my Sims has a different personality. I like having a whole world filled with unique Sims that come from all different backgrounds. I'm always playing with a different storyline in mind, and sometimes I feel like I don't have something that fits the look of the Sim that I'm thinking of. So let's talk about the unicorn in the room. Horses. Horses in Cass. My first reaction was almost emotional. They're so cute. They're so pretty. They did a really good job at making them look realistic yet cartoony, adorable, lovable. They're goofy, and wow, I can go on and on about these horses. I am glad that they added the unicorn horn, even though we didn't get what I almost would say a proper unicorn, something with like a little bit more magical, has special abilities. But I do like by adding a unicorn horn, it makes them into a unicorn. So it's more than just a hat. It actually is a unicorn. They sparkle. Just like with werewolves and dogs and cats, the painting feature on the fur is really cool. You can create your own designs. My first horse that I made, I put little hidden hearts all over. They were like dotted, and I can't be the only person. I'm sure a ton of people like to put little hidden hearts in their animals. I do it all the time when I make dogs or cats. I'll put either a star or a heart or some little picture hidden in their fur pattern because why not? I mean, if we have the ability to paint, I'm gonna do it. So now that we talked about Cass and how I'm happy with the horses, let's go on to gameplay. And this is where I probably have spent the least amount of time so far, unfortunately. I'm hoping today I might have a little bit of time to play after I'm done with this voiceover because I am in the mood. I'm in the mood to explore all of the new options that we have. But what I can say so far is I have done writing, I've made a little family, and we've been making Nectar. I really like the Nectar so far. Nectar is one of the biggest reasons why I was excited about this pack because Nectar making was one of my favorite skills or activities in former Sims games. especially Sims 3. I used to take notes and put them up at my desk of the best combinations for nectar making. Look it up. Sims 3 is actually much more difficult. It's not just like grab 4 apples and call it a day. It's like, what combination should you use to make a better tasting nectar? It was fun. But that being said, I knew that Sims 4 wasn't going to be like The Sims 3. It just isn't. It hasn't been from the start. The Sims 4 is its own thing. So I tried to go in with no preconceived notions of what I thought the pack would be like, what I thought horses were going to be like, what I thought nectar making was going to be like. And this isn't just for this pack. This is just how I feel in general about The Sims. Whenever we get some new content that has been in previous games, I kind of water down my expectations because The Sims 4 just doesn't feel as robust as Sims 3. I think it was because Sims 3 they had a lot of issues with gameplay and lag and stuff like that. So I think Sims 4 they wanted to make it more accessible for people, but in reality they were watering down their product just a little bit. Which is just kind of a bummer, but I think they've been doing a lot better lately. I've been more impressed with the packs that are coming out. I've been more impressed with the gameplay, and I think that we will continue seeing positive improvements. Especially, we're coming up on 10 years of The Sims 4. 10 years. Can you believe that? I can't believe that. I remember when Sims 4 first came out and I was a little bit reluctant because of the bad reviews, but I really do feel like they've come a long way. But more about the gameplay. I do like how they ride their horses. I think it's really adorable animations. The nectar making has been fun. It's a very lucrative skill and hobby. Currently my save game, I'm trying to make it so she's just surviving on her nectar. Just got a second horse because my horse was getting a little lonely and I don't have time to pet my horse all day because I'm trying to make nectar, trying to make a living. But it's been fun, and I'm excited to get into a really good groove with gameplay with this pack. Sometimes I have to set aside a whole day and I create a storyline in my mind and I can just sit there for hours really in the zone. I haven't had the chance to do that yet. The first house that I make with the new pack tends to be a little bit more of a tutorial house for me. It's like I can't quite get into the gameplay when I'm making the first house with a new pack because I don't quite understand how to use the new pack yet, so it feels a little clunky. And so I probably will eventually abandon this sim, but I probably will give her a no CC makeover and upload her to the gallery because she's so cute. You ever have those sims that you make and you just get really attached to them? Because yeah, that's what I am with this with this family. Let me get back to the build. Let me tell you quickly what I was doing here. I was taking small bushes and making them go up the wall. And I did this by using the 9 key to lift it up and place it around. You can see it with your walls half up, half down, but I tried to make it so it wouldn't be obstructing any view for gameplay. It's a big deal for me. Whenever I build something, I try to make sure that nothing's going to be really in the way for gameplay. Because you know how annoying it is when there's like a big tree right in front of the house and you're like have to keep moving your camera around or something. So let's get back to the build. Here I'm working on the landscaping, and yes, I've been working on the landscaping for the past 13 minutes now? No, but I used a lot of pink in the landscaping, which was just a random choice. I just pulled it out of a hat. Pretty sure I just was looking through my selection and just pulled a pink one, and then I decided let's do all of the flowers pink. So yeah, I did a lot of pink, but I didn't want it to be like super bright pink. Maybe I was thinking about Barbie when this was being built. I don't know. But I wanted to be a little bit more subtle. Like I used a lot of pale pink and a couple of pops, but I just wanted the landscaping to be a little bit more, I don't want to use the word subtle because this is not subtle. This is definitely a lot. But I didn't want it to be too overgrown. I did want it to be a little overgrown, especially in spots where, like fencing, for example, like you can't mow up against a fence too much. So there's always going to be a little bit of grass that is growing out from the bottom of the fence. I also wanted to give this house a lot of curb appeal, and I want to do that to all my houses, not this one exclusive. I wanted to make it look really good from the gallery because this is going to be my first build using the new pack, and I'm only using the new pack. And I know once people download, they're going to want to play, and I wanted my build to be available for the people who were just ready to start playing the game. They just got the pack and they want to have a horse barn, but they don't want to build it themselves. Anyway, so that was my goal for this, was for it to be ready for the people who download it immediately. And yeah, it's ready for me too, but honestly, I don't like to start out a new house in something big like this. This is more of like a something I want my sim to work their way up to. So I might play in this house eventually. I do play in a lot of my builds. I absolutely love it. It makes me feel more connected to my work. I'm like, oh, how lovely. I like to think about my Sims building as art. It's my own little expression. I was really into art as a kid and really enjoyed it, but then I hit this point where drawing particularly was just, I was good for my age, and then I plateaued at some point, and that's great. That's, neither here nor there. I could have kept going, and I could have worked harder at my drawing and probably improved. But, when I'm not into something anymore, I can't really apply it. And so, yeah, I probably would have been more of an artist, but this is my way of expressing myself, is through the power of Sims builds. I know it's not exactly really fine art or anything like that, but there is definitely something to it, and it gives me a sense of peace, especially when I'm hitting about this point where I'm seeing everything come together, the vision, it's all feeling more realistic, because when I first start a build out, it's all very unknown. Like, how is this actually going to turn out? I've mentioned so many times before, I don't really use reference photos that often, so most of the time it's just like dumb luck if it turns out looking good. The nice thing about not having a reference photo is that if you see it going in a bad direction, without any kind of something holding you back to a style or anything, you're just like, you know what, I want to take this, add on a whole edition, save it in some way. But the bad thing is that you don't know if it's going to turn out at all, even when you have changed the direction like 5 times. But I'm happy. I'm overall happy with this. And it looks like a big house, right? It's on a 50 by 50 lot, but ultimately it's not like super massive. And I haven't even talked about the layout yet, so let me do that right now since we're right here. So upstairs, this is the parents' bedroom right here. Down below is an apartment. I call it the ranch hand apartment. I know ranch hands don't actually live at your place, but butlers can. And I think, not nurses, what is it? The babysitters, they might be able to stay at the house. I don't know. But I also think it's nice to have for in-laws or your kids growing up and they're still a young adult, but they live at home. It's an apartment that can be used for so many different things. But for this purpose, I'm going to call it the ranch hand apartment, okay? So I'm sorry about the abrupt change in audio, but it is a different day. This is a different mic, so I'm sorry about that. But we're going to continue. I tried finishing this voiceover before leaving for my trip, but I just did not have the time at all. But I will be on this trip for probably another month now. So yeah, it's going to be a while, and at least I have these headphones to continue on. But what I was saying is that this is the horse barn. So we're continuing our tour. This is the horse barn. As you can see, there is a silo in this horse barn, and there's something to note here. Since it's a circular room, we know that there's issues. There's problems with circular rooms. You're going to notice that during gameplay, there's a horse bed right underneath that silo. It's going to be kind of weird to click on it. Like if you're right above where the circular silo is, you can't really click on the horse bed unless you kind of move the camera around a little bit. So I just want to let you know there is nothing wrong. It's still fully functional. It's just like clicking on that one spot underneath the silo is super annoying. But anyway, so in this barn, the horse barn, I put a second story, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to put in that second story originally, so later on I'll show you, but it's going to be a bar, and I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm not really sure that I like the fact I put a bar up there and not just like storage or some horse stuff, but whatever, because there's 2 bars or 3 bars in this whole build. No, just 2. Anyway, so I'm working on the ranch hand apartment. This is the outside area. I'm getting the layout down, and since it wasn't a very big space, it took me a while to kind of figure out the layout I wanted, but I do really like the flow of this little ranch hand apartment, and I'm thinking about making it into its own cabin or something like that. Now, officially, this is my most downloaded build in the gallery. It's been a couple weeks since I started editing this, so at the time it wasn't, but now it is. It has almost 20,000 downloads, which is just amazing to think that that many people are possibly playing in this build, or maybe just put it in their world because they wanted something to fill the space. But either way, people are downloading it and it makes me feel really excited because just the idea of people playing in something that I spent hours building and thinking about, it feels very flattering. So thank you for everyone who's downloaded this and is playing with it right now or has played with it. That's just so cool. So also I should mention this is right after that update came out for ceilings. So I made sure I painted all of the ceilings, and in the apartment here, I first went with a purple color scheme and I was not feeling it. So then I changed it to green and I was really liking this. And for a base game little house, this is so cute. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I'm always a big fan of green. Whenever I build with green, it's just, I always think it turns out really nice. So I'm not surprised that I ended up liking this apartment anyway. Okay, before I get too deep into that thought, let me continue on explaining the layout of this house. So there's also a Nectar barn slash a place where I keep the goats, and that is over to the opposite side of the horse barn that we were looking at earlier. And then there is a main house and then this apartment. And then there's also a basement that's attached to the main house where they have a hangout room, some extra nectar storage, which is always nice to store your nectar in a basement because it ages faster and you can make some serious money. Okay, so I have played a little bit since the last time I just talked about how I haven't played much, and nectar is extremely lucrative. You don't even have to have a day job. Your sim can live their best life making nectar and making money and living their best life. So I encourage you to try to do that. There's a lot of ways to get super duper rich in The Sims, and sometimes I don't want to go that route. I want to play something a little bit more difficult, like try to sell things on Plopsy and try to have, I don't know, some other job. But instead I always end up being like, okay, maybe I'll write a couple of books and I'll paint a couple of paintings, I'll get a job, and then I end up becoming way too rich too fast. And it's like, oh, that kind of took all the fun out of it. But it's hard for me not to do it because it's like I know I can make money that way. So let's say I want to like renovate their bedroom. I'm like, all right, let me just write a couple of books and then sell a couple of paintings. And then before you know it, I have way too much money and I don't feel like building anything. Anyway, I'm just going off on a tangent right now, but I'm going to describe this bathroom real quick. So, this is right after that update came out, also where you could put stuff on the back of toilets and on sinks. And I'm so thankful for that because I used to have to use the red shelf all the time to decorate those things. And now that I don't have to do it, it saved me so much time. Speaking of things that save time, let me tell you something that I've been getting really into lately, and that's hotkeys. Okay. I know that doesn't sound like something you can get into, but I've been like not purposely avoiding them my whole life, but just kind of like, that won't really speed me up. That won't really do anything. But I have been using the speed hotkeys my entire life. The one, two, three, and then pause. So that way I don't have to keep going down to pause it. For some reason, I didn't think that was going to translate much into building. I didn't think it was going to speed me up, but I have been using it. Like when I'm moving something, I realize that I want it to actually delete it. I'll either do Control Z or I'll just click K to use the sledgehammer and get rid of it, and then change swatches of something. While you're still holding it, you can use the plus and minus key on the number pad to change swatches before even putting them down. But then if you already placed it, just click R and then you'll have the swatch key. Click on it right away. You don't have to keep going up to the top like toolbar. And I know this stuff is like obvious, like duh, it even says the hotkey commands right on the board, or like right on the top board when you hover over the command that you want to do. So if you ever forget it, you can remember. But something that I am kicking myself for not trying it earlier because all of my builds could have been done so much faster. But regardless, I'm just happy that I'm doing it now and it's speeding me up. In this video, I have no idea if I was kind of using the hotkeys then. There were some that I've been using, but I'm like really trying to dedicate myself to it. Like every time I find myself using my mouse to go click on the button, I'm like, no, use the hotkey, okay? I'm even doing it for Photoshop, which I know I haven't been using hotkeys in Photoshop. Some of them I do use hotkeys for, but just the general toolbar, I just go and I click it, and I know hotkeys will make things faster. My husband's always like, "Why don't you use the hotkey?" And I'm like, "I just don't know it. I can't remember." But if I start using the hotkeys, I'm gonna remember them very fast. I use Photoshop a lot for editing sim stuff, and then I do a little bit of graphic design too. So I do use Photoshop kind of often, and I'm gonna try to start using those hotkeys every single time, so I'll never forget. So right now I'm working on the kitchen and I clutter this bad boy up pretty hard for it just being like a secondary kitchen that I'm not going to use that often. But I did still want it to look cute, especially if I am having a sim living here. It can still kind of give me the cute, cozy atmosphere that I like. I personally like building small houses a lot because I just feel like you can put a lot of personality into such a small amount of space. But it is nice building a big house like this. Sometimes when I build something really big, I put less detail into each room, not just because it just takes a long time to clutter up a room, but because for gameplay issues, you don't want to like overdo a build or else it's going to lag a lot, especially on a older computer or just not as a robust computer. My computer is pretty decent, so it's hard for me to like play test the what it's going to be like on the average computer. I don't want to say average, but like this is a gaming laptop I got specifically for The Sims, and I don't do anything else on it. Like I do my video editing, I do my Sims, I play The Sims, but I don't really do it for anything else. I mean, I check emails sometimes, but yeah. Anyway, let me talk about this porch. Yeah, it's a nice big porch so you can sit and enjoy the morning view, the sunrise, have a coffee out there. I have a hard time controlling my Sims and where they sit down because sometimes I have this image in my head that they can go sit on the balcony in the morning and grab a cup of coffee, but you know they're not going to do that. They're going to go downstairs, grab a coffee, walk around with it, sit in like the most random chair. It's going to be winter, and they're going to go outside and sit on a park bench for some reason and not at the dining room table. But I mean, I have autonomy off, but they still have a mind of their own, okay? There's only so much I can do. So here I'm working on the grill area, and I wanted to make sure that I have a lot of counter space for your Sims to cook, even though they don't need to do any preparing when they do grill stuff. But it's always nice to have anyway, and a sink so that way they can clean up and do the dishes, even though you know they're just going to go in the bathroom and do it anyway. But when I'm making grill little area like this, I want to make sure that the grill is far away from anything that can catch on fire because the amount of times that I put it close to the house or up against the house and it catches on fire because of that is too many times. Or sometimes it just catches on fire, and because things are near it, it catches everything else on fire. So, if you ever notice that when I'm doing a build and my grill is far away, I do that on purpose because the amount of times I've play tested and then caught everything on fire is too many times. Too many times. I've even had it where I have been play testing after not saving the build. This is so dumb. Don't ever do this. And I killed my sim, and then the build goes away. Like all your stuff goes away. You have to either go out without saving or just I don't know. It's tragic when that happens. I know I'm not the only person that's happened to. So here I'm in the Nectar barn now and I'm playing around with the layout. I want to make sure that there is a bathroom because again, I don't want the Sims to have to wander around to find a restroom. And they'll probably spend a lot of time in here because I did put nectar making and a woodworking bench. So that way they don't have to leave the barn when they don't have to. One thing I do regret is not adding a cellar from here so that way they can immediately go downstairs and store their nectar to age it, but you know, whatever. By the way, this is another day of doing the voiceover. So yeah, I've done this in like 3 sittings. But anyway, I want to tell you about my new save game that I've been kind of obsessed with. And by the way, I just have not been into gameplay lately, so it's been really exciting to get back into it and actually feel the want to play because it's just been a while. Usually I play all the time, but I think it's because I build so much. I'm just really not in the mood to play. But I really like my family, so I have this Sim. Her name is Lola, and she has a horse named Heart because she has a heart on her forehead. Oh my God, so cute. And she's been training her horse and she's been riding, and that is really fun. I did not expect it to be as much fun as I'm having. I've been doing competitions almost daily. She's working on becoming like a master rider, and her horse is getting trained regularly. Anyway, she also has a nectar making business on the side, so she doesn't have a day job. She just squishes nectar. She recently got married, and that was exciting. And now he is in the basement making nectar all day while I'm working on horseback riding. So he's my little basement troll who stomps on nectar all day. He technically wants a music career, but it's got to be on hold because, I mean, I'm riding my horse and working on training. So she also just had a baby, and that was exciting. Well, they as a couple, they had a baby, and
It's now in the baby stage, so if I get some gameplay today, you know what I'm gonna be doing. My goodness, like babies are not easy, but this child has been pretty good so far. I gave her the sunny trait, and that one's been pretty easy. If they're fussy, because I think they're fussy is a trait you can have, makes them a little bit harder. So I gave her an easier trait to work with. But that Sim's going to grow up to be a big time horseback rider. And I'm also going to breed with another racehorse, Magic, not Magic, Heart, our horse. Don't you remember? I talked about her earlier. Had a pony. I ended up selling that horse because it had the worst traits ever, and I tried training it and it was always scared, and it was kind of emotional having to get rid of the horse. But I ended up making money off of the horse because I trained it up. I really like the more that you train your horse and win competitions, the more money you can get from them. So that's just a whole nother aspect of the game. But most of her money is going to come from Nectar anyway. So now we're inside the house and I'm working on the layout of the kitchen. I already knew I was going to be replacing most of these items with the new ones anyway. I was just trying to put the placement because, I mean, cabinets are cabinets. I was going to replace everything with the new stuff. I love that this pack came with new cabinets, new kitchen stuff. It's something that I want more of the packs to come with. If in a perfect world, every pack would come with a new set of everything, a new bedroom set, kitchen set, living room set that all kind of match because I just feel like that really adds to it. So it really bums me out when a whole entire expansion pack does not come with new kitchen stuff, new cabinets, and I wouldn't mind like 2 new couches with every pack that come with a matching love seat and chairs. My God. Why? I don't know. I'm on fire this morning. Okay. So the flooring I used in the kitchen, that is one of the new swatches that come with the base game update that happened right before this pack came out. I love these new swatches. I'm going to be using all these new swatches all the time in every single one of my builds. Anyway, so now I'm just decorating and I did this little trick, I guess you could say. Not really, but with the curtains, I decided to do a little something different. Since I'm just doing base game, I wanted to try something. And I was doing long curtains, and in between, I did like half sized curtains to make it look like they're layers of curtains. If that makes any sense, I just wanted it to look a little bit more grand, especially since those are really big, nice, beautiful windows that have a view of the pond. I just thought that looked a little nice. And I'm cluttering the kitchen up pretty good, but not too much because I want to make sure it's still functional. I added a fireplace and I wanted to replace this with a new fireplace, but the new fireplace was way too big, so I ended up adding a new fireplace to the basement, and you will see that near the end of the video. We're about halfway there, so congratulations if you've made it this far. I've also added a piano. I've been doing that a lot of my builds lately because I've been building very big houses, and pianos are a great thing to take up some space. So if you are ever looking to fill in a gap in your open floor plan, just throw in a piano, maybe a guitar, an easel. I also like adding grandfather clocks in a lot of my builds, just because that's another thing that you can use to take up space. There's so many things that I always forget, like decorative items that are actually pretty big that I either forget about until there is no space for, or I just don't have the opportunity. Like, for example, what my red shelf is intersecting with right now, those kind of like those china cabinets. There's so many of them, and it's something I don't use that often. I tend to forget they even exist as an object, especially because they're not functional. Wouldn't it be kind of cool if they were functional? Like your Sims could use them to set the table, or they could be storage, something like that. So now we've moved on to the entryway. And entryways and hallways are two of my least favorite things to decorate. They just don't really serve a purpose, but they kind of have to be there. So I usually use the same items in all my entries, like that hanger. Sometimes I put a book bag, a chair, and in this case, I also put a stereo in case your Sims just want to stand in the entry and dance a little bit. I don't know. Obviously, I have to throw in lamps and plants, just things like that. And also end tables with clutter on it, because when you go into someone's house, usually there's something to throw your keys in or on or hang. And so I try to give it a little bit of realism, even though none of it is actually functional in any way. But I also put the stairs to the basement and upstairs right on the entry. So Anyway, now we're in the living room, and this is the main living room, a sizable TV. I did something similar as I did in the ranch hand apartment. I just thought that would make sense since it technically is all one house, all one builder, so they probably would have something similar. Also, I liked the way it looked over there, and I just didn't feel like thinking about something different. Still just working with base game at this point. I did a lot of building before I even got the pack, so I ended up having to change out a lot of this, but I'm pretty sure I kept this living room exactly the way it is because I end up liking the way it looks. Also, I'm so thankful that we got more swatches in the book, like the little books. um, for the longest time, we just had three swatches, and they were very. I don't like the colors they were. I mean, it's almost 10 years old at this point, so obviously they just don't look as high quality as some of the other swatches we get in things. So when we got some new swatches in those books, I partied, I celebrated. I use it in all of my builds, every nook and cranny, anything you can put a stack of books on, or a little, what do you call it when they're just next to each other? I don't know. I'm just going to call it stack of books, even though I know there's probably a better word for it. And when I'm doing a voiceover, sometimes I don't even notice the things I say until I listen back and I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to say that word. But, you know, I'm going with the flow right now. This is a long one, so I'm just going to kick back, relax, and just speak into my little headphones. I hope the sound quality isn't too bad, so I do apologize. This is all I could do right now. I didn't have space to pack my mic, and I didn't want to ruin it by taking it on airplanes and jostling around in my bag. So, you get what you get, and if you like my builds and don't mind my voiceovers, I appreciate that. I like the idea that people actually want to hear what I have to say about my little projects. And when I say little, I don't actually mean little. This took me a while, but it feels good because for the longest time, like growing up, I would try to talk to my friends or my family about my Sims stuff, and not that they didn't care. They would humor me sometimes, but it's not like they even knew what I was referring to. So feels really good to have people that will listen to me talk about my special interests. Yeah, because, I love me some Sims. I also want to do some gameplay videos, and I've been talking about this for a while. I've just been trying to figure out how I want to edit it because I don't want to copy someone else's style. Like, I want to find my own style, but in order to figure that out, I have to actually film something and edit it. And yeah, so it's just doing new things is hard. I've gotten to a good flow with speed builds, and I don't really have to think about the process anymore. I can just sort of like go and do it. And I would love to get to that point with like gameplay stuff. And I kind of want to do like weird challenges and stuff that I would do, I mean, regardless of recording. So, yeah, but with some commentary, I might do like webcam again to show my face. We'll see. I'm not shy. I don't mind showing my face. I mentioned it before. I just don't know where to put it all the time on the screen so that way everyone can see my pretty builds and see what I'm doing, and it won't cover up anything that's actually important. So here I'm working in the bedroom, and I'm just getting a basic layout of it. I end up changing out some things, but I do keep the wallpaper. A lot of the wallpaper I use in this build is also new, quote, quote, that comes with the update that came out before the expansion pack came out, along with this door, that door swatch right there. I love that new door. It's one of the least expensive doors, too. We've always had it, but it comes with some much more rustic swatches. And I can't wait to see the other things that The Sims will eventually add more swatches to. I want to say like redesign, but it's not like they get rid of the original swatches. I I do like that they're doing that with a lot of like they did with the backpacks recently with the back to school, celebrating that with new lunch boxes. And I just like being able to get those Sims deliveries. It's like, ooh, free stuff. I love me some free stuff. Like when you go to a conference, or I don't know if you ever find yourself in one of those situations where there's a ton of businesses and booths set up, I go crazy. I become a little kleptomaniac during those events, even though everything is allowed to be taken. They give you like a little tote bag. and they're like, yeah, collect your stuff, and I'll take things I don't need. I'll have like 1,000 pens by the end of the day, magnets. Sometimes they have like frisbees, something cool, something that'll set them apart. Yeah, I love me some freebies. Absolutely. I am not above them. I'll take things I don't need, and I probably still have things. But let me tell you, one of the most useful things I ever got from one of those events is a universal outlet. And I just used it in our most recent trip to Italy. It still works after all of these years. Super great. So if you are at one of those events, make sure you keep your eye out because you might find some gold. Well, anyway, now I finally have the new pack and I'm changing the swatches of the exterior along with changing out a lot of the windows. One of my new favorite things that comes with the new pack are the shutters. So in the like wall detail, exterior wall detail section, I can't remember, but if you're looking at the build by, the little icon is like the little flower pot underneath the window. Anyway, in that section, you can find the new window shutters, and it only comes with one size. I'm still really happy that we have them, and I can use the tool mod to resize them, but I would have liked it if they also came in a long, skinny version. But you know what? The fact that we have them at all is amazing because for years I have been using base game blinds to make shutters, faux shutters, or I use windows like this that you see on the barn over here, those base game windows. And now I'm also changing around just the color scheme in general. So I decided to go with white for the barn, like a weathered white. Thought that looked kind of nice. I like the way it looks different. Also, whenever I'm building with a new pack, I'm just starting to learn the items. So I would say my first builds using a new pack, they're not going to be my best. I'm still just trying to figure out what the new items are, how I can use them, and I usually use all of the items in a very traditional manner. And what I mean by that is that sometimes, like let's say with base game items, I will make my own furniture out of them. I'll put two pieces together. I'll do more creative things. But when I get a new pack, I'm just trying to figure out what those items are supposed to be used for, and I use them for that, which doesn't make them bad. And I still think that looks really nice. But I definitely didn't do a lot of experimenting with this build. I just kind of want to get things done. So remember how early in the video, think back, I said underneath the silo things get a little weird. You just saw me trying to place down that horse bed there and it was glitching around a little bit. That's because it's underneath the silo. And so I had to get a little bit closer in order to move things. So here I'm adding like the hay, the water. There's not an issue at all once you get down low. So just to warn you, again, it might be a little weird under there. It's a little Twilight Zone. But anyway, so I'm going around changing the fencing to some of the new fencing and adding this gate. I realized then that my terrain paint was off, so I had to go fix that. But luckily, terrain paint is easy to work with and can be readjusted really fast. Oh, I also love these new arches. And I later realized that I probably should have put like an actual sign in the hanging sign. I'm pretty sure you could put like words or something there that in Simlish would say like Nectar Ranch, for example. But yeah, I didn't add that. I just put the arch. Again, still learning the new build by items. I saw some other people putting the words there and like, oh, I think you can actually put stuff up on that sign. But anyway, so I'm also finishing the exterior here, and a lot of the interior is done. So most of the stuff at this point is just adding and going through the catalog slowly and playing around with the new items. For example, changing out the piano with this new piano. Even though the grand piano kind of looked a little bit better there, since I like putting those flat pianos flat against the wall, I still like it. It's kind of Western, and this is the style of the pack. Here's where I finally kind of get to the Nectar barn and the regular barn. I spent a lot of time out here because a lot of the new build buy is for this reason, and I haven't been able to touch these rooms, and I kind of got excited to work on them. So, a horse barn. Here's the thing. I did horseback riding as a child, and my grandpa has a barn, and it's not like I've never seen a barn before. But the second I started working on this barn, it felt like I've never seen a barn before. I'm like, how are they supposed to be set up? I don't know. So I kind of Googled a little bit, and at the end of the day, I was like, I'm not going to be spending hours on a horse barn right now. So this is my best guess. My brain was like, nope, there's no more knowledge. You are chock full of it. So I just did my best. And as long as the horses could get in and out, that I was happy about that. I do plan on getting better at these sorts of builds. I'm not saying this is bad, but I'm just saying it could be better. So here I'm also adding, I just added goats and lambs. Pretty sure those are the I I haven't been playing with them yet because I'm still trying to get used to playing with horses, so excuse me for not 100% remembering what they are, but I definitely know baby goats. So I added those straight from the catalog, but usually you either go to the stand, there's going to be like a community board, you can buy them from there. And I think there's a few other ways you can buy the goats and lambs. It's just not super obvious. One of my new favorite items now, though, is this hay rug. So you can place it anywhere. It doesn't affect gameplay at all because it acts as a rug. So that really helped the barn look more barny when I placed the hay down. And here I'm actually finishing up the Nectar barn area, and I had this like grill area. So the thing about this grill is that it doesn't totally fit like the vibe. I mean, it does. But I used it simply because it's new. I feel like another grill would have looked totally fine in that area, but I was like, nope, this is a new item and I'm gonna use it. And I used my favorite table and chairs for this. I can't not use those. It's base game that comes with the umbrella. It looks very classy and it comes in a ton of different swatches. So sue me. I love it. And now I'm just going back and forth. So this is the hard thing too about getting a new pack and finishing a build, not finishing, but working a long time on a build before getting something new is I just start hopping around between different rooms, and so it's hard for me to be like describing what's going on because once I do place this audio, I'm gonna crop it a little bit and it might be a little off. So I don't want to be like, now we're in the house, and you'd be like, no, you're working on the garden. Anyway, my goodness, I'm talking a mile a minute, aren't I? But yeah, now I'm just kind of going crazy in the nectar area, the nectar barn. I'm just like adding all the new items. And that's another problem I have. You know how they teach you graphic design, or you've ever taken a class, or the golden rule is like, don't do too much. You know, and like the first time you make a PowerPoint, you're like, I want all the fonts, I want all the colors. Every single slide is a different scheme, or it's a different theme. And that's how I feel when a new pack comes out because I'm like, I gotta use it all. I have to use everything. But I don't. You don't have to use everything. That's the great thing, is saving some things for other builds instead of using all of it in one. So yeah, I was just getting a little excited. So I wouldn't say it's over cluttered though. Not upset with it. And here's just like a little seating area. I had no idea what to do here, so I put a little jukebox. Maybe after you're done making nectar all day, you can go up here, just relax a little bit. Maybe go across the way to the horse barn and make yourself a drink, come back here to listen to some jams. Doesn't sound too bad. Or you could even sample your own nectar, which my sim hasn't done yet because nectar is way too lucrative for that. I've maybe I'll save some for like her anniversary, but right now, they just had a kid, so she needs to make some money. Anyway, I'm doing some more just decorative stuff. There's a ton of new decoration items that I really like, some clutter items. There's like a half woven basket, and I would love to see more items like this. Something that doesn't take up a lot of space. You can put it up on things. It's decorative. Because sometimes I feel like I run out of clutter items just so fast, especially in a house this size. You, I mean, yeah, I'm using a pack in base game, which does have a lot of stuff, but when you're building something so big, you just kind of run out of things, and I don't want to keep using the same item over and over again. And I don't want all my base game houses to look the same. So, yeah. So here I'm adding the bar, and it's just big enough for this bar. I wanted to put it in the center, but then I thought there might be issues with the Sims getting back there, and honestly, I just didn't feel like playtesting at that moment. I do end up playtesting all of this, but sometimes I just do the thing that I know will work. So, for example, I know that by placing the bar over all the way to the side, the sim can no matter what get back there. I did test to make sure they got the stairs and all that stuff, but if I place it in the center, there is a chance the sim cannot go back there. So sometimes I just do things for future me because it's kind of annoying when you're finished with a build and you're like, all right, time to get into the play testing. Everything should be smooth. And like, it's not. The Sims like waving their arms up in the air, like, I can't get to the bathroom. And you're like, why? what did I do? So when I am building, there are these rules that I tend to know will be an issue or not. And I love these new columns, the new pillars that come with the game. There is this like plain one, and then there's also the one that comes with a brick bottom. I think that looks very, very classy. Great for the porch. And the porch I made specifically because I feel like a lot of ranch style homes have these very long front porches. So yeah, want to make sure it kind of blended with the vibe. Okay, so we are now back in the house and I'm exchanging out the kitchen cabinets with the new ones. I'm very excited for that. These come in a ton of great swatches and I really love the butcher block countertops. I think that looks really nice. I ended up keeping a lot of the stuff that I did already placed there, but I was able to add on a lot of the new items, especially the new clutter items. I love that it has like kitchen clutter also. They're all just really cute. Anytime we get like little pots and pans, I get so excited. There's also stackable plates, which I didn't even notice while I was building this. I keep seeing people post about it though, and yeah, I did use it in some other builds that I've done more recently. But yeah, stackable plates, very exciting. So you can stack them as high as you'd like. I also just hop around here. This is what I'm doing. I change out new things. Oh yeah, by the way, the new rug. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. I love all the different swatches and I love all the Native American inspired art and items that we got as well because it's so beautiful. So while I finished decorating the living room area, let me describe the family that lives here, one that I imagined. So there's twin boys, a girl, and parents. And I think they might also have a dog, but because I didn't have any cats and dogs items. I didn't add any stuff for that. But I did imagine they probably have a cat or a dog, and they also have two horses. Now, I have not made them yet. I was going to make them in cast before uploading this, but I just didn't have time. I still am thinking about making them. I don't really know what they look like yet, but in their rooms, they all have their own personality. And I imagine all the kids are about the same age. And I don't know if I want them to be triplets or the twins be a little bit older or younger than their sister. I'm not sure yet. But the landing area, which is another place that I hate decorating. So, I mean, hallways and landings are kind of similar situation, but this one I turned into a playroom, and I like that that I could do that because whenever I'm trying to decorate kids' bedrooms, I always try to fit in all these items like a lab area, a lab, a lab set, and the craft table and other items like that. And there's not always room to do that in all of the bedrooms. So I like creating a kids' playroom so that way, instead of having to have all those items individually in each bedroom, they can just be in one little area. So yeah, even though the parents have to walk through the kids' play area to get to their bedroom, it's not a big deal. I mean, as long as it's out of the living room, and as long as they pick up their toys. There's also a family computer right in that area too, because I like being able to have a family computer so the kids aren't going into the parents' bedroom or something like that. And I do like kids having access to computers because there are games and skill building activities for kids to do with the computer. And yeah, it's so useful. So here I'm working on the nursery. A lot of these items are base game because we got all those new items with baby stuff, and I'm still not over it yet. It still feels new to me. So yeah, it's very pink. Oh yeah, I forgot there's a baby in this house. I forgot about mentioning that when I was describing the family. Yes, so there is a baby girl possibly. I mean, whatever you want. And so this is their bedroom, and it's a pretty big family. I mean, it's not huge. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yeah, 6 Sims. It's not a full house, but oh, I forgot, and I have the ranch hand apartment. So this could easily be an 8 sim house if you want it to be. I kind of like the idea of maybe like in-laws living in that apartment also, um, or like an older kid or something like that. So then this is the other bedroom here, very pink. It's not very big. So the twins bedroom is the biggest. That's why I made it a twins bedroom because I figured if one child has a room that's like twice as big as the other kids, it's not really fair. So haha. I personally, if I was a kid, would rather have the smaller bedroom to myself than a bigger bedroom shared with someone. That's just my personal opinion. But so now I also give them a table and chairs so they can work on their homework. I can't remember if I add a computer in this room, but sometimes with kids' rooms, I don't add a computer. Teenagers' rooms, I do add a computer. Also, depending on how much money the family has, because I mean, if they're on a budget, not all the Sims can have computers. That's ridiculous. So I also use a lot of new items, and I was a bit bummed that there wasn't more like kids' horse items. I wanted to make this like a horse girl bedroom. And a lot of the items I ended up using are base game, like this horse toy and the unicorn money bank, and yeah, but I do have to say I do love this horse rug. And the great thing about this horse rug is that you can use the tool mod on it. Unlike some other rugs where the tool mod doesn't have an effect on them when you rotate, this one does. Yay. So I was able to make a rug look like a wall decoration piece right above her little desk. So yeah, I thought that was kind of cute, and I'm glad that that worked. And I was also glad that I was able to use those new curtains because all the other windows could not fit the new curtain that comes with this pack. So yeah, this bed also comes with a new pack. So this is now the twins' bedroom. That rug matched perfectly. So I got the color scheme for this bedroom for the idea of this rug. I was seeing a lot of like, I was seeing very strong blues, yellows, some reds. So I kind of went with that. And I don't keep it like this because I thought that's a little too colorful. So I ended up toning it down but keeping this color scheme. I just thought it was very kid friendly too. I don't picture these people teenagers quite yet, but I did give them a laptop. I just figured since two Sims have to share the one bedroom, I might as well give them a few more amenities. Plus, I'm sure the rest of the family will be hanging out in here anyway. Like, whenever your Sim eats, they always have to find someone to sit next to. So, like, sometimes one of my Sims will just be like chilling in their bedroom. My Sim gets out a salad and then goes all the way over to that Sim's bedroom and sits on the the bed to hang out with them. I'm like, I guess that is kind of realistic though, because I would kind of be like that with my brother when I was growing up. I would always try to like hang out with him when he's in his bedroom. It's like, Elena, get out of here. But now we're cool. If you're a sibling, you get it. You know how we are. So yeah, with this bedroom too, I wanted to have like a fun place to hang out, watch TV. What I've been doing a lot is making a TV look like a second monitor, but then you can also watch that monitor like it's a TV because it is a TV. So it is like having two in one. So I've been doing that a lot and it worked perfectly in this bedroom. So your Sims can sit on the couches right there watching TV. Another Sim could be on that laptop doing some homework or whatever. I end up using this one rug that I never used Space Game because it matched so well. I was pretty happy about that. This is probably one of my favorite kids' bedrooms, like the color overall that I've done recently. The only problem I don't like is that one of the walls just feels really bare with the two dressers. I got this idea to go back into the ranch hand apartment with this new item. So this item here, the wreath thing, is an early access item. So you have to buy the pack within a certain amount of time. You get that item. Unfortunately, now I think that time period is over. So if you buy the new pack, that won't be in this build. So too bad. Sorry. Which is kind of annoying. I don't use those items that often simply because a lot of people don't get packs right away. So when I'm building something, there's some stuff from high school years, from this pack, I think from even cottage living. I avoid using those items that come with the pack for early buy. So it just doesn't feel worth it to me because people will see that I'm using items that they don't have and they'll be turned off from downloading it. So yeah, that's my thought on that. So I don't know what's going on with me lately, but I've been in my beige era. I just like I've been making so many houses that are just tan, beige. I usually really like color, but one thing I kind of like about using like beiges and whites is that it's I don't want to say easier, but things just match. Like you don't have to go making sure that the pinks that you're using are all the same hue of pink or the same family. That's one thing I just that irks me is like when I see pinks together that aren't the same, like aren't in the same family. So whenever I'm like working on a Barbie house right now, which I think I mentioned earlier, but yeah, so I'm working on a Barbie house, and it's very important to me that all the pinks are correct and they match with each other because there's nothing like a purple pink mixed with a reddish pink together. I just feel like that clashes so much. Sorry, I'm not even watching my screen right now, see what's going on. So let's see what's going on here. Oh, we're back in the living room. Oh, no, we are in the basement now. So the basement is where I kind of finish things off. One thing I like to do is copy bathrooms and then pasting them other places because a bathroom's a bathroom. I put my effort into one or two bathrooms and then just use those, duplicate them throughout the rest of the build. So saves me lots of time. What I wanted this to be down here was like an entertainment space, a place where your Sims can have a party, have a get together, keep them away from the rest of the house. I have an easier time throwing parties in the game when I have a space like this, kind of containing the Sims. They will explore, but what you could do is like lock interior doors to keep Sims out of certain areas and also lock your computers. My God, Sims are addicted to that. I don't know what's in there, but what's in their programming that says if there's a computer near you, you have absolutely have to start playing it. Like in no way would I go over to a stranger's house and start playing on their computer, like their video games. If someone came into my house and loaded up The Sims and started playing, I would call the police. I'd be like, this is so weird. Who are you? What are you doing? Anyway, we're just different. Sims, they're just like they go with the flow. They're like, all right, a stranger's knocking on my door in the middle of the night. Vlad, oh, he looks friendly. Like what? Uh, anyway, so I am trying to make this entertainment space not like too big because I didn't want to decorate too much. There's also an additional nectar storage here that's not too big, but there's 13 bottles per little nectar storage cabinet thing. My God, I cannot find words today. But so as I was playing, I realized it takes a long time to fill up just one of those because you make one nectar bottle at a time. And it takes a few sim hours to stomp on those fruit to create the wine. So you're most likely, unless if your sims are working around the clock on making nectar, you're not going to fill up all the nectar storage that I put in this build. You can try. I would love to see you try. But my sim doesn't even have a job. There are two people in the house, and I still have not filled the four that I have. Unless if you get a whole bunch of nectar makers and a huge garden, and you have a ton of kids, grow them up old enough to make nectar, you could have yourself a whole nectar farm. Anyway, your Sims would be so loaded. So here in the basement, I got this idea from a cousin's house of mine. They have this like little faux thing in their basement. It looks like they're outside, but they're inside. There's like a little playroom that looks like a barn that you can go in. And anyway, the best way I can describe it is that it just looks like you're outside. So what I did down here, because it's so gloomy in basements, is that I put some art on the wall and then put some shutters on the outside of it to make it look like those are windows. Kind of makes it look a little less dreary and basement-y down here. It'd be fun for a little party. So yeah, and then I just do a few more decorating items. I didn't want it to be too cluttered because I want to make sure that your Sims could get around. But at this point, I've used just about every item I could in the game, so I was trying to make up new things. Pretty sure that's just a vase. Maybe it's even an urn. I don't know. But I used it as a vase in this situation. Add me another grandfather clock. I think this is different from the one I used upstairs. Can't really remember, but I mean, you can't have too many clocks. That's what I always say. It's never enough time. So, then I also I had a gym, but I totally forgot to put a door, so I put this mirror here, and I kind of like the way I look. I was like, "Oh, this is great." Later on, as I'm building, I'm like, "Oh, I forgot I put a door," so I had to change that around. You'll see that in a little bit, but yeah, here's the nectar storage. It doesn't have to be big, didn't have to be fancy. I just wanted it to serve a purpose, and I mean, those barrels and that china cabinet thing, those are decorative, but I didn't want it to be also completely plain. So yeah, here's the final room of this build, the gym. And this is where I decide I need to put a door to it. But home gyms, I always am happy when I add them because whenever I play, it's nice to have a home gym. You don't have to leave to go do it. You don't have to go to a loading screen, even though gym is a great place to make friends in The Sims, but whatever. It's also nice to just have these items. Anyway, what I was going to say is that I tried to make a different layout this time than I usually do. I wanted this to feel a little bit more homey. And when I was younger, we had a treadmill set up in our basement, and there was a TV, a little TV in front of it, and a little like shelf like this. So I got that idea from my house back home growing up. Anyway, as I finish up this speed build, let me just take the time to thank you for making it all this way here. You are dedicated. You deserve something today. You deserve a little treat for making it this far. Treat yourself today. I really appreciate it. If you like this video and you want to see more, think about subscribing to my channel. That would be really freaking cool. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!